Hello and welcome to the course. Today we're building a full stack real-time chat app that has iOS notification sound built into it. Just like this one. Not only does it have real-time messages, but also real-time online status next to each user. We will build this beautiful looking glass morphism effect with Tailwind CSS and Daisy UI. But it's not only that, we will build a complete authentication system with JSON Web Tokens, and we will use middlewares for authorization. Our API will handle every single error and return an appropriate error message which we can grab and display in our user interface. We will separate every single service into its own folder, and this way we will have a super clean code base that is organized and modularized. You will be able to see these different folders and their usages in a MERN stack app. For the database, we'll be using MongoDB, and we will learn how to build models, how to add relationships between them, and most importantly, we will learn how to design models for this chat app. For the front end, we'll be using React, and we will create custom hooks for each operation, such as sign up, login, logout, send message, and much more. And these custom hooks not only will make our code base look super clean, but also will make our code reusable and maintainable. We will learn two different state management solutions, which are React Context and Zustand. And the most exciting part will be at the end, which is Socket.io. This library will allow our application to have this real-time communication, and you will see how easy it is to integrate a socket server into your Express server. After this app, you should be able to build a chat app from scratch by yourself. And after we successfully build our application, we will learn how to deploy it for free. And this deployment process will be applicable to all of your other MERN stack projects. This might be my most beginner-friendly course. The only prerequisites are a basic understanding of JavaScript and React, such as hooks, components, and props. So that's gonna be it for this demo. And just before we get started, I am trying to achieve something this year. If you think this content is cool, consider subscribing and liking this video. Thanks for watching, and let's get started. Okay, so as always, I have created an empty folder on my desktop, and then I just open it up in VS Code. Now we need two different folders. One is for our front end and the other one is for the back end. Now let's start with the front end, and then we'll just focus on the back end. So let's open up a new terminal and then cd into the front end. Now we'll say npm create vite at latest. Now this will give us a React application, and we would like to add dot at the end that will indicate install this React application under the front end folder. And this means the current folder, which is this one, right? So if we press that, it's gonna ask us some questions. We'd like to go with React and JavaScript. Now under the front end folder, we have this folders and files. Now it says run npm install, and we could do npm install or I for short. Let's just run this. That's gonna give us the node modules folder, which is our packages that we need, or the dependencies. So this is gonna take a bit time, and now it's been installed. Let's type npm run dev, as they say just above. So this will spin up a server for us at this URL. Let's control click to it, and now it has been opened in our browser. So this is the React application that we have. Now later in the course, we're gonna add Tailwind CSS and Daisy UI, but for now, let's just terminate this process and focus on the backend. And then later in the course, we'll just focus on the front end. So I will kill this terminal and just shrink this. Now for the backend, you might think that we're gonna open up a new terminal and just cd into the backend and do something like npm init-y. But this is not what we'll be doing. Instead, we're gonna go into the root. Okay, so not in the backend, not in the front end, but in the root. And the reason is we are doing this just because for deployment, so that we could have a better developer experience, and it'll just be easier for us to run both the backend and front end from the root. So type npm init-y. That will give us a package.json file. And here we can see, let's change this main entry point to be server.js. And we're gonna create that file under the backend. Now we would like to create an Express server. So if we do something like const require okay, I'm sorry, that should be const express require the express. Currently this is not going to work. We need to install that package, and in fact we're going to need multiple packages. So let's install all of them at once, and when we use them I will explain every single one of them. Let's install all of them now so that we don't waste any time. So npm install express, let's say .env, so cookie parser, then we're gonna need the bcrypt.js, and then mongoose, scikit.io, and then JSON web token. And I think that's gonna be it. Now we'll be using express to initialize a express server. We'll be using .env to be able to read environment variables under this .env file, and cookie parser, as the name suggests, to parse the cookies. Then to be able to hash passwords, we'll be using this package. To be able to connect our database and just interact with it, we'll be using mongoose. Then let me just take it like this. So we'll be using scikit.io to be able to have that real-time communication, and then JSON web tokens, JSON web token package to be able to create those tokens and install them under the root. I will press enter. That's gonna override the package JSON file. So let's wait for this now. Okay, so installation has been completed now, and let's just try to create an express server. So I'll say const app and just call the express function, and then we could say app.listen, and we could listen this port, and we'll just say console log that the server is running on this port. Now let's save this file, and we would like to run this file. So inside the package.json, we are going to create another script. Let's just delete this, and let's say something like server. And to be able to run this, we'll say node, and then we're going to go into the backend, right? Because our server.js file is under this folder. So we could save this now, and let's run this. I will clear up my terminal, and in the root I will say npm run server, and if that works, it is gonna print out this server running on port 5000, and in fact it is working. Now let's just create a test route. So app.get, so when we go into the home page of this route, or the home route that we call root route, okay, this is the root route, which is http localhost 5000 and just this direct route. This is called as root route. We could say something like res.send server is ready, or maybe hello world. Let's save, and in our browser, if we now visit, we cannot see anything. Let's go 5000. We cannot see anything, and the reason is whenever we update this file, we need to terminate this process and then just type it again or run this again. Now if we visit, then we see the hello world text, and it is really annoying to just whenever we do some changes, you just kill this and then open up again. And for this we have a package. So let's just say cls. We could install that package, which is node-man, and we could say -- save dev. So this will indicate this is a dev dependency. So let's install that. Now installation has been completed. If we take a look at here, we have this dev dependency called node-man, and we can fix this by saying maybe node-man. If we go now here in the server.js, let's say npm run server. Now this will run the server but with the node-man script, so, or the node-man package. Now let's wait for this. So it is gonna run it, and this is the server that we have. Now whenever we do some change, let's say hello world with double exclamation point, now it is gonna restart this automatically. And if we refresh, now we see this update. We didn't need to terminate this process and then open up again. Okay, now that we have a server that is up and running on this port, let's just try to expand this. Now the first thing that we'd like to fix is this port number. we don't really put this as a hard-coded value, but instead we just create a variable for this. Let's uppercase port, and we're going to get this from the process.env.port, or it's going to be this value. Now, what is this value is coming from will be a .env file that is in the root. So .env, and if you cannot get this highlighting, then I have this extension called .env that you need to install. And once you install this, now you can get this highlighting, and I'll give this port value to be this 8000, and I'll save this file. Now we say the port value should be either that port value under this file, or it's gonna be 5000. Now if you save this now, this is not gonna work. Let's just put port here and then update this. Server running on this port, and I'll just put backticks and use this variable, but this is not going to work. And the reason is, so it didn't get the 8000, right? It see that this is undefined. Now we're using this value, and the reason is, by default you cannot get this .env variables, and we call this as environment variables. And for this we install this package called .env. Now we will say import that const .env from .env, and then we're gonna call a function. So .env.config. Okay, just call this. Now we're able to use that value that is coming from that file. And I don't really want to use this require, but instead I want to do something like, oops, okay, I'll just do Control Z. So instead of this, I would like to use import express from express. And to be able to do it, we need to go into the package.json. Maybe under the scripts, we will get this type. And by default, it is common.js, but we would like to make it module. Now, if we save, we're going to get some errors because we're using require. So let's change them with import. So I will delete this, and I'll say import .env from .env. Now this should fix it, the error in our console. Now let's add some routes for our authentication. We could do something like app.get. When we get to, let's say, API, auth, and sign up, we could run this controller. Maybe we'll just say console.log sign up route. And then we could do something like app.get API auth login, and we'll say login route. And then we could have something like logout. But now imagine if we have, so we're going to have all of these authentication routes, and then we have this much of user routes. And this file will look really ugly because we're going to have different things. It is not going to be only routes. And the solution that Express gives us, that we can use the middleware for this. So I will delete all of them, but instead we'll do something like app.use. That's how we use middlewares. So /API/auth, and whenever we visit that something starts with this route, we're gonna call our auth routes. And now let's create this. We don't have it. Inside the backend, we're gonna create routes folder, and then auth.routes.js. Now this is not really required. That could be something like auth.js, but just to know, this file is about this is a route file. I will just put it, and this is some convention that we do in Node.js. So I will accept this, create this file. Now we will import the express from express, and then we're gonna create a router. So express.router, and this R should be uppercased. And let's say export default this, and now we'll just say if router.get, if it is a get method to, let's say, login, then run this controller or this callback function res.send login route. So now what is going on here, I'll just put them side by side. If we visit app.use, if we visit /API/auth/login, then this function will run. And to be able to make this work, we need to import this. Let's get it. Import auth routes from this file that we have. And you need to put this .js at the end, otherwise it is not going to work because we are using this import syntax. So now I will just save this and let's test it out. If you visit API auth/login, we're going to get this response. Let's go /API/auth/login. Yeah, was it login? Okay, let's see. I think we have some problems. Okay, API auth and login. If it is a GET request, then it should give us. Oh, okay, I think our route is 8000. That's the problem. Okay, and let's just fix that under the .env file. I want to have this route to be 5000. Okay, so let's visit 5000/API auth login. That's going to give us this login route. And now our code is a lot more organized as it before. Now we only have this route. Whenever we go into this auth route, we're going to call our routes. Now here we could have different routes. One for login, one for sign up, and one for the logout. Let's update them one by one. So sign up, login, and then logout. And again, we could even organize this more by removing these functions from here and just put them in their own files. Because now imagine this function is about, let's say, 25 lines. And then this function is about maybe 50 lines. And this one as well. So this file look messy, and instead we can use controllers. So I'll just delete all these. Okay, so let's just create controllers for them. I will delete this, and this functions. Now let's save this file. We're gonna go into the backend, again, controllers, and we're gonna have auth.controller.js. And again, this is just optional that I would like to put because it's a convention that we generally do. So create this. Now we can put our controllers. So I'll say export const login, login user. And then just console log something like login user, and we'll do for sign up. So export const logout user, and then we can do the sign up. Now here we don't really want to put the user, so I'll just delete that in all of them. And let's put the sign up at the top, and then login, and then logout. And we'll be adding all those logics one by one. So let's first import that functions. So the sign up, but from auth controllers, but we need to add .js at the end. And then one from login, and then the logout function. So let's quickly reiterate what we did by putting those side by side. Let's close this and showing this. Okay, now when we visit this route API auth, then we're gonna call this auth routes, which is this file. And we have sign up, login, and logout routes. So this will be prefixed just like this. API auth sign up, API auth login, and logout. So when we visit this route in our browser, or when we send a request that is GET, we're going to call these functions, which are our controllers that we have created in this file. And now it is time to add those functions one by one. But first, let's just test it out. I will save this file. Now let's go into this route. And if we open up our terminal, let's go and refresh. We're going to see that login user run, which is this function. This one. And then if we visit the logout, that's also going to give us the logout user. And if we visit sign up, that's going to give us the sign up user function. And which means this is actually working as expected. we visit this route, it called the signup function, login function, logout function. But you see this is hanging is because we are not returning anything. If we say something like res.send signup user, and that's just gonna stop from hanging because we got a response. And now let's create this signup function. So there is one thing that we need to change, that is those will not be get method, but rather all of them will be post. And this is how we can update the methods. So it's going to be either post, delete, you could put update, patch, just all methods that you would like to have. But in our case, we would like those to be in the post method. And for this to be testing out, we will be using Postman. So this is the desktop application that I have. I would recommend you to install this as well. Let's create a new workspace. This is the one that I have created while I was testing out. So we're gonna go here and let's create another workspace. I will say next, and name could be chat app YouTube, and create this one now. So it's gonna create this, and we could add different collections. One blank collection, and let's just rename this to be oath. And later in the course we're gonna have another one. Let's duplicate this now, and this is gonna be for users, so to get user profiles, and then duplicate this one. This is gonna be for messages. We're gonna put our requests into these collections, but now we would like to start with the oath. So let's say create or maybe add request. That is gonna be sign up. If you save, it is gonna update here, and then we would like to have the post method, and our URL will be http, or actually let's just copy this quickly, paste it. Okay, API auth sign up. We would like to send some data that is gonna be type of JSON, not text. And here we're gonna put our data, but first let's add this function now. So I'll shrink this and open up this panel. Let's close these. We're gonna go into auth controller, and this function will be an async function. So let's delete this. It's gonna have try catch, and for the try, let's just do step by step. So we would like to get some values from request.body. So const request.body, and this will be the inputs that we will pass from our front end. So let's get them one by one. They're gonna be something like full name, username. So we are signing up our user, so we'd like to their full name, username, their password, their confirm password, so that we will check if passwords match or not, and we'll get their gender. But to be able to sign up a user, first we need to create a database and then a model so that we could sign up this user into that database. And for this, we'll be using MongoDB. And let's go and set that up. So here I am in the mongodb.com. I will say sign in. And if you don't have an account, you can sign up for free. That is no credit card required. So I will sign up with my Google account, or sign in basically. And here we need to create a project. So let's wait for this. Okay, I will create under my organization. So I have one project, that was the threads, and I think this one as well. Okay, we have two projects, but that doesn't really matter. We would like to create a new one, and I will call this as chat-app, and I'll just put this suffix that is YouTube. So I'll just say next, and project owner is gonna be me. So create the project, and that's gonna take a bit time. So they redirected me to this page. I will create a deployment, and I will use the free tier. The cluster name can be like this. This is not really important, and let's create that now. And here we would like to have username and password. They already gives us, so this is really important. You need to copy this and just take it as a note because we'll be using it. So I will put it for now to my .env file, and just say create this user, and that's gonna put my current IP address. And so if you don't really want to have any other problems while developing, so you could put an IP address that is accessed from anywhere, that is these 0 IP addresses. And once you add that, just say add entry. And so this is only for development. When you take your application to production, you don't really want to have this. And I think we could do that and just delete it once we deploy our app. So let's see, finish and close. That says code overview, and that's gonna take a bit time to create this cluster. And now we would like to connect from our application, and we're not gonna be using MongoDB, but instead we'll be using Mongoose, and we already installed that package. So let's copy this connection string, and we're gonna go into the .env and just create another variable. So mongo underscore db and URI. So I will paste that. Now we would like to update this password field with the one that we have. I will copy this and then replace it with this one. And then this is the database name. If you don't really put anything, that's going to be the test database. But I would like to have one called chat app db. And if we say now, when we use this MongoDB URI, we will be connected to our MongoDB database. Now let's go and create another folder called db, and we could say connect to mongodb.js file. So here in this file, we would like to connect to our database, and we said that we'll be using Mongoose to do that. So we'll say const connect to MongoDB. That's going to be an async function. We could have a try catch, and in the catch we could say console log something like error connecting to MongoDB, and we could just pass the error dot message. And then in the try, we would like to say await mongoose.connect, and we'll just put our URI, which is this one. Copy this and just paste it. Process.env MongoDB URI, and we could say something like connected to MongoDB. Now let's export this. Export default the function, and in our server.js, once our applications start to listen, so I will cut this curly braces, paste that, and then I'll say something like and we forgot to close that off. I will say connect to MongoDB function, and we have an extra. Okay, so app.listen this port, and then connect to MongoDB, then just console log server is running on this port. Let's save this file, and maybe this one, and let's see now in the console if we can connect to our database. So server running on this port, and we are connecting, so we are connected to MongoDB.